Welcome to my YouTube channel called The Onement. My name is Gavin, and just about weekly, that's what I'm shooting for. I do a video around oneness, around spiritual ideas and practices. And this week, this topic that I have been guided to share and discuss is why and how oneness is the answer to any perceived problem. All right. And going through this with you, if this is the first time you've been to this channel, I would love for you to like it, subscribe, and that whole thing with YouTube. Yet, I teach oneness, and the Onement is a oneness movement. Now, I recognize the irony right off the bat that even doing these videos, sitting here in a body in front of you, is not necessarily the embodiment of oneness. Just kidding. Or is not necessarily the representation of it, but that's kind of what I'll be discussing on this channel. And when I look through the past and my experiences in my life, there's been lots of ups and downs. I'm sure you can relate. Might be going through some tough times right now. This world, it's a crazy, it's one crazy thing after another, right? And I'm always fascinated that more people, you could call it a judgment, that aren't looking around like, oh my gosh, this is insane, regardless of how you perceive what's happening with health things in the world, with corporations in the world, with climate change in the world, with abortion in the world, with politicians in the world, regardless of what side you appear to be on, which is part of the problem. It's insane, right? And I've been given the gift over the last few years that I used to kind of be on this, what would be considered one side, and then some things happened, and the side I used to feel like I was on totally kind of laws or events went totally against me and my family, and a lot of things that have to do with our body. And then I kind of flip-flopped, right? And with sides. And what I've that helped me realize is how I used to perceive people, events, the past, and think that somehow my happiness, somehow my purpose and meaning in life was tied to those decisions, those people, those things happening. And since I got to it wasn't very fun. It was almost felt pressured, pushed into the experience. I kind of realized it's an illusion on both sides. There's the answer wasn't being on this one side was better than being on the other side, right? It's so that's what I really want to talk to you about is oneness and separation, how that fits into the world, how we perceive, our problems, what's happening to us, who we really are, and why, how we look at it is what is kind of creating those perceived problems and creating the dream. So I'm a Course in Miracles student. I would say most of my teachings have to do with that. I'm going to be talking about principles. You do not have to be a Course in Miracles student. I feel like these are universal truths. There's many paths to God. But I want to break down on this oneness and separation as we get into how oneness is the answer and solves any perceived problem you have out there, right? So let's talk about separation. You've probably read many books. You probably have a good understanding of separation, but let's just take a look at it again. Separation is the idea that there's quite a different ways to look at it, that we're bodies, that we're not all connected, that we're not one, that there's differences, that there's contrast, that there's a spectrum of good and bad. It's duality, right? And with that comes all these possibilities in what we see as this world, right? With other people, with experiences, with events, with the past, jobs, family, um, every wonderful thing we can imagine with like vacations or money, and that our mind thinks those are wonderful, right? And then all the bad things having to do with like crime or murder or, go through a lot of buzzwords, right? And as I do that, your mind is like making these assessments like, okay, good, bad, category. This is, from what I think I know about the world, this is what makes sense. This is a hierarchy of correctness, of right. Okay. And that is separation. That is the problem, right? That perception is causing all these things that feel like something's not right, that things aren't going the way you want them to go. And why do we want them to go a certain way? Because we feel like if life goes the way we think it should go in this illusory world, that then we're safe, then we can experience happiness, then we're abundant. And so there's this lack and this need that certain things and many things need to happen. And in the world of separation, guess what? Very few, if you really look at it, very few of those things happen the way that you want. And there are, in all of our dreams, we see certain people like, look at their will, look at their determination. They overcame, they became billionaires, or they have all the stuff and they don't have any problems. And that is so part of the illusion, right? That if you're in a body, that is going to give you contrast. That is going to give you what feels like the ups and the downs, the good and the bads, the over here and over here, right? So that's just a quick summation of separation. And we full-heartedly believe in the separation. We think what we are as bodies. We do everything we can to take care of these bodies, to perpetuate these bodies, um, to improve them. And we think like we do all these things: go to school, go to college, get jobs, to have kids, to get married, possibly to make more money, so then we can retire someday. And everything's always about like, okay, whatever from the past, we want to try to learn from that for the future. And then we think like that's the answer, and that's going to improve things. That's going to like give us that purpose and meaning, that, oh, we feel so good and we're abundant, and now we're safe, right? If you've lived long enough on this planet, that safety is always in jeopardy, which is the entire point of separation. No matter how much money you make, you could lose it. No matter how many perfect relationships you have, something could happen to your health. There's always that other side of it. And I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just trying to point out the obvious. What most people, and myself included, ignore. And I've ignored it often. I have gone head and heels into the world many times because it's been sometimes painful for me. You might relate to this, that when I go into what I call the spiritual world, it's like, oh, I'm feeling good. And then, but what my eyes see around me is responsibility, bills, like wanting to do certain things. And then like, okay, I have to work for those things. And then boom, I'm like swept right back into that dream and of what a lot of people would call like the rat race of needing to make money in order to pay for things or to get things, right? And I have been pulled back and forth in that, and that's why I'm here to teach oneness. I'm teaching what I want to remember. And let's just go on to oneness. We're one right now, right? There's nothing we have to do that is a there's nothing we have to do to be who we really are. Our minds, though, think we're these bodies. Our minds think that all these things that we see in this dream, in this illusion, are really happening. And therefore, we're caught in that cause and effect world, and then think we're able to control it. And it's just this matrix, this game, this like the ego is setting it up for us to constantly seek and fail and never find who we really are. So we're distracted by this and this and this, and like this is what life's about. This is what's life about. And guess what? There's so many spiritual gurus and practices out there that get you caught in worldly stuff of, like manifesting. Let's just 20 seconds on manifesting like The Secret. Nothing wrong with The Secret. We can manifest whatever, of course, because we are with our mind making it all up, right? So if we change our beliefs and change our thoughts, we can manifest things that we perceive that we want. Yet this is the big catch that took me years to figure out with manifesting. Just because you manifest what you think you want doesn't mean that's going to like make you realize who you really are. Might say, hey, there's something else going on here. I feel pretty good about this. Look how powerful I am. But those things that we're manifesting aren't necessarily the answer to joy, to happiness, to infiniteness, to our eternalness. When we're in the body, people just ignore the fact that like everything in this world ends, everything in this world dies, everything in this world is temporary. And that is not what oneness is. We are eternal. We are, infinite. We are unlimited, right? And so, what's not fun between those two worlds to most people is when they think of oneness, it's like, okay, I can't really get my mind around that. So, if I'm not a body, if I can't like work towards these things or have these like experiences of these things in this world, that doesn't sound fun. So I'll just let me stick in the body, right? And then they're swoop back in the world, ignoring like truth, ignoring like love, ignoring who they really are, and then wondering why they aren't happy. And I would say this has been me to a T, and most people. And the fallacy, the lie that I believed is that um, that I couldn't experience awakening or oneness. Those are two separate things. But awakening I would define as the awareness that we are one. Okay, um, but that somehow you can't. Uh, have that awareness when you're in a body, and that's not true. I mean, many so-called bodies have had that experience and have led this path, have shown that as an example. I'm not going to name names because sometimes people don't like hearing those. Yet the proof is there, and it's just temporary. And guess what? It's just part of that dream that all of this hasn't really happened. Right now, we are love. Right now, we are one. Right now, we are all not bodies in like this one mind of perfect creation of love, abundance, and joy. Right. So, why does that matter? Why does that foundation of what I just described to you matter when it comes to like how oneness solves all your problems, right? Well, first of all, that you even think that you are separate from like truth, separate from God, separate from love is the problem. And that thought process is, the effect of that is what we see in this world, right? And that of things of contrast, of things of limitation, of poverty, of death, of illness, right? And gosh, more than listen, this is what 2022. There's been some crazy times in what is the dream of this world. Yet this has got to be up there, and I actually feel like there's like this mass awakening that feels like all these other people in the world, and like bringing to the surface the problems of the world, but I know at a deeper level, this is like this collective consciousness that is just us, that is me, that is you, that is one, that is letting go of this lie, letting go of this illusion. Okay. And as we do that, and as we realize we're one, realize who we are, that we don't buy in to the things of this world as the answer to who we really are. We don't work towards certain things of like this amount in the bank, or if my kid's this, or all these goals of the world, that the goal becomes the complete realization, the self-realization, some would call enlightenment, of who we really are. And then we're the expression of that as proof, as evidence out into this world as we feel like we're walking this earth. Okay. And that doesn't come with any need from what most people would look at this life. That the answer, and I'll do other videos on this, is that we have to let go of that. The separated self feels like it knows, that it has the right answers, that it can guide people, or excuse me, that those decisions that the separated self is making are the best decisions, because the ego wants to, like that personal self, let's just call the ego the personal self, separated from other people. The ego wants to survive. The ego doesn't want that person to wake up. The ego wants scarcity, wants fear. And this world is predicated on that belief happening. So when you talk about like a word like freedom, right, that would be letting go of anything needed from this world. And how you do that is, words like faith and words like trust and guidance from spirit. And again, there's a lot of limiting words because people have these perceptions based on the past of, what, like God and spirit and things like that. But spirit would be, another way to describe it would be actually your higher self communicating with you in a multitude of different ways for you to remember who you really are and to build that trust, to build that faith. And of course, the miracles would help you go there, as a miracle is a change in perception. And as you see things miraculously change in your life, you'll see that, with how your mind works and how you change how you view what yourself is and return to love and to oneness, that you're not attached to what happens in the world. And then the world becomes a reflection of that truth, of that love, that extension. And instead of going out there forcing things to go the way you want and causing a ton of problems that mean nothing, that are like trivial, that we make so big and suffer so much and feel like such victims and feel like so lost, that all of that can be just let go. And you can come back to the holy instant, to the present moment, remembering who you are. And then from internally, with that love, with that remembrance of oneness, you go out into the world and see only that, experience only that. And that's a very simple way to describe it, because I've been doing this for years and years and years, and I go back and forth into the world and into the spiritual, and I forget so many times, but I keep getting pulled back. And that's why I'm doing these videos. That's why I'm teaching oneness, is I want to live it, remember it once and for all, that there's never a second that I'm not aware or remembering that and living that. And I want to, I realize that there's nothing that I need do, but I still admit I feel like I'm in a body. I feel like there's all these things around me, and I want to teach it because that's what I want to learn. That's what I want to remember. And I'm inviting you to come on this journey with me. This is I watch my videos and watch the transformation over the years. I will share stories. I will share events, and I will share things of this world that are evidence of what it looks like to, live oneness in this dream, that it is possible. And you, even in what's a temporary body, you can experience oneness, and that you don't have to live from separation. And separation is fear. Separation is thinking that we're better than everything else, that we have it all figured out, and that we know. And it took me many years to really understand that, like, I know nothing. I know nothing. Like, I want to feel in control. So I think I understand how the world works. And so I make myself feel better about the actions I take. And then I think those actions are going to like cause something I think I need. And guess what? It ends up just being a shitstorm over and over and over. I keep repeating the same patterns. It's like Groundhog's Day. And when I realize I don't know and I open myself up to that guidance, then I'm able to like look at things differently. Then I'm able to let the past go. Then I'm able to have the faith and trust in the future without needing it to look a certain way. And that's what I'm being guided towards as the path and as the answer to letting go of all problems, of not needing it to be a certain way, working a certain way. And it's such a relief. That's freedom. And guess what? I don't know what's going to happen. Guess what? I have some concerns. Guess what? Like I'm just day by day, moment by moment, absorbing who I am and reflecting that the best I can in that moment and remembering over and over and over again and allowing myself to be guidance, paying attention, being aware, being conscious of truth. So I hope you can understand the difference between separation, what oneness is, and that, you may think that all these worldly things are going to bring you that purpose, meaning, and love and joy. And, the quicker you can understand that there's nothing wrong with those things, but that if you think those are the answers to your salvation, to who you really are, it's going to be a bumpy ride. It's going to be, like this hollow feeling when you get there and you seek and you do not find. And then it's the next goal and it's the next level. And then all of a sudden, as the years go by, like, gosh, I'm not getting this. It's not getting better. I don't feel like I'm making progress. I feel like I'm swimming in circles, and with relationships, with money, with jobs, with purpose, with why I'm on this planet, right? There's this, huge thing of like that everybody's supposed to like, they have their one thing, right? And what the ego wants you to do is they want your one thing to be something that is informed, is physical, is an act of doing for success, for accomplishment, that like the world would judge you as like, wow, look at, they did something great, or look at how much money they made, or look at the difference they made in the world. And that's a trap, right? The one thing, the one goal, what is your why, is to be who you really are, which is love, which has absolutely nothing to do of this world. And as we remember that, then we can come from that love. We can come from that oneness. And again, extend it. And then everything in your life becomes the reflection of that. And that miracles are everywhere. The meaning is everywhere. How we perceive other people is completely different. We're not judging them as like wrong or having done something bad. We're seeing them as us. We're seeing them as innocent. We're seeing them as part of the dream. Okay. So many more videos to come. I'll give you more personal stories in the future. So excited to have you on this path with me. One way to join the Onement is to become a subscriber. And I've got some fun things coming up. I actually started the Onement nearly, like 13 years ago, and then gave it up for a long time. And, I realized like this is my thing, not to have any like goal in this world, but to teach oneness as the remembrance of who I really am, who we really are together. Okay. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Much love.